Remember that brief, shining moment in American history when a factory worker could afford a house, a car, a yearly vacation, and send their kids to college without drowning in debt? Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen, I guess. At least not according to the economic geniuses who've been running the show since the 1970s. From 1945 to 1973, America experienced what economists call the Great Compression, a period when income inequality plummeted to historic lows. The horror: imagine the tragedy of CEOs making only 20 times what the average worker made, instead of today's totally reasonable 350 times. How do they even survive? This was the so-called dark period of shared prosperity. When the top tax rate was over 70%, a third of the workforce was unionized, and the government actually regulated industries to prevent monopolies. The result? The economy grew at nearly 4% a year. Wages went up with productivity, and the middle class exploded from 25% in 1930 to 61% in 1970. Naturally, our leaders decided this couldn't stand. Enter Richard Nixon, who, believe it or not, deserves way more credit for today's wealth gap than just Watergate. He helped kill shared prosperity in some truly inventive ways, like appointing Earl Butz as Secretary of Agriculture, the guy who told farmers to get big or get out. He nuked New Deal policies that kept prices stable and replaced them with a system that pushed overproduction at any cost. The 1973 Agriculture and Consumer Protection Act ditched controls, leading to collapsed crop prices and a rise of corporate megafarms. Nixon also ditched the gold standard in 1971, opening the door to all sorts of financial shenanigans, because what Wall Street needed was more tools to extract wealth from the rest of us. Right. And let's not forget about his brilliant energy strategy, or lack of one. Despite years of warnings about oil dependence, when OPEC hit us with the embargo in 73, Nixon's big idea? Temporary price controls. Genius! Inflation exploded and the stock market tanked, and the Fed cranked interest rates up to 13%, tanking businesses and home ownership. But don't worry, Jimmy Carter kept the train wreck rolling. He appointed Paul Volcker, who jacked interest rates up to 20%, triggering the worst recession since the Great Depression. He deregulated agriculture and transportation, smashing unions in those sectors and opening the floodgates to corporate consolidation. Then, Reagan came in and sealed the deal. He slashed the top tax rate from 70% to 28%, raised taxes on the bottom, and declared open season on unions. His administration stacked the National Labor Relations Board with anti-union enforcers and crushed the air traffic controllers' strike to send a clear message: worker power is dead. And Reagan's antitrust policy? Guided by Robert Bork's galaxy brain idea that monopolies are good for consumers. So between 1980 and 1989, over 25,000 corporate mergers happened. Industries consolidated like crazy. Inequality exploded. This trifecta, Nixon, Carter, Reagan, gave us the 1980s farm crisis, telling farmers to scale up, then yanking away price protections. They created a debt trap that wiped out over 300,000 farms. Rural America was gutted, farm suicide surged, and corporate agriculture took over. Today, 4 companies control 85% of beef processing. 3 control 70% of soybeans, and farmers now just get 14 cents of every food dollar. That's down from 37 cents in the 70s. But hey, cheap food at Walmart, right guys? That's if you ignore the $20 billion in subsidies that we now pay to keep the system on life support. And while this economic unraveling played out nationally, California was ignoring a different disaster: water. Its water system was designed for 16 million people, but by 1980 there were 24 million, and now 39 million. And instead of investing in desalination or prepping for droughts, we planted almonds in the desert. When the inevitable droughts hit, aquifers were drained, land sank, and water panic set in. All of this while union workers, those greedy monsters asking for retirement and health care, were being blamed for ruining the economy. But here's the truth. From 1948 to 1973, productivity and wages grew together. After union membership tanked, productivity kept rising, wages didn't. Meanwhile, countries with stronger unions like Germany and Sweden outperform us in exports, and they pay their workers more. But blaming CEOs raking in $30 million a year? Nah, it's much easier to blame the guy on the assembly line making $30 an hour. Since 1978, CEO pay has jumped 940%. Worker pay, 12%. The top 1% has grabbed nearly 40% of economic growth. Most Americans now live paycheck to paycheck, and nearly half can't cover a $400 emergency. But the stock market's booming, so we must be doing great. Here's the kicker. This wasn't inevitable. America chose this path. At every fork in the road, we picked deregulation, union busting, tax cuts for the rich, and corporate consolidation. We could have invested in renewables, but instead we doubled down on foreign oil. We could have kept antitrust laws strong, but we let monopolies run wild. We could have supported labor, instead we crushed it. Other countries made better choices. Norway built a $1 trillion sovereign wealth fund. Germany kept its industrial backbone. The Nordics proved you can have both innovation and worker protections. We chose trickle down, and nothing trickled down, except economic pain. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, let's talk eggs for a second. Egg prices are up over 50%. The reason? Not just bird flu. That explains the 3 to 5% production dip. Demand is actually down, so why are prices skyrocketing? It's because the egg industry is a monopoly. 2 companies control the genetics. One, Cal-Maine Foods, dominates production and keeps supply tight to keep prices high. Their profits are now up to 145% over costs. And unlike past flu outbreaks, they're not rebuilding flocks. Why would they? Less supply equals higher prices. Back in 1968, the market was decentralized. When prices rose, small farms added hens and prices came back down. Today, there's no competition, just a few corporate giants controlling everything. The same story in dairy, same story in farming, same story in transportation, healthcare, media, you name it. So the next time you're paying $7 for a dozen eggs, don't blame the chickens or the flu. Blame the policies, the ones that dismantled our middle class, crushed competition, and made it so producing less earns more. Because in America today, the fewer eggs you lay, the richer you get.